let me just say this, man. Again, this story you're laying out for us is phenomenal. It's so unlikely, and when we think about how culture has developed post, you know, 1990s, let's just say, that this was the blueprint. You were part of setting up this blueprint for hip hop culture. And that's important. And it's interesting because when we talk about hip hop culture these days, people focus on the music, not the rest of it, right? And how interconnected that was. And you were one of those pioneers amongst the greats, amongst Bambaataa, Red Alert. Yeah. So
there was many, man. There was many before
there was many, yes, for sure.
Yeah.
I see Woody from Rocksteady.
Woody!
Wow.
YCB in the house. What up?
Mark Bodie's in the house. This is great.
Mark! Yeah, baby.
So we were talking about, you know, you're venturing, you're in California, you start getting into streetwear.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that period. I remember the dissatisfaction. You also go to San Francisco, which ends up being probably the most transformative experience for you in terms of your work.
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
Because you move away from graffiti lettering per se and start injecting philosophy, mysticism, more cerebral and mystical elements into your work. One of the paintings that I'm going to share with everyone is this one, which again, it's kind of one, that intermediary painting, right, between that period and what's ahead of you. And you pay homage to Dondi and CIA, but also you start putting little things in here, adding little things like Mentor, what is this, Gothic Future, a nod to Ramelzi. Tell me about you arriving into this place with this work.
I think it was a natural progression, actually. You know, I would often go back to see my family in New York when I was living in California, and I would go to the battle station and I would see, or I'd meet up with Dondi, we'd ride bikes or whatever. And, you know, Ramelzi was just this well of information. He was like this interdimensional, interplanetary genius. I mean, he was an architect. And Dondi was as well too, because they both had philosophies. Whereas Dondi's philosophy lie in the letter and motion, in a different way. They both had similar kind of style master general attitudes about the letter, and a reverence for it that I've never met any other artist that did. They really had a science behind it. Now, the whole idea I touched upon earlier about mathematics, like different timelines, different possibilities, different ways, and through the systems. Well, according to Ramelzi, would be the subway systems, or through the galaxies, that would be the systems. Mine were kind of like giving a nod to influences while I was painting. And I mean, and then not that unlike Basquiat, who would write down things kind of like spontaneously. He would write things that he would see from the anatomy books or whatever it was. These were actually from precognitive kind of things that I saw in my mind before I did the painting, to allude to the makeup of the painting. So all these paintings were dissections of thought. Like the letters would have to be dissected and delineated into a figurative form, and therefore I would have to have numbers and elements, numbers assigned with letters, letters assigned with elements. And that's when I started reading more into the metaphysics and stuff. It actually began in Los Angeles. When I was living, I was painting down there, and I had a studio with a great friend of mine, Norman Maxwell, next door to me, and another great friend, Carl Knapp. And we were talking about philosophy, and Carl was on the eastern tip. We were on the more of the western tip. I had somewhat of a knowledge about Freemasonry because my uncle was a 33rd degree Mason, and I remember as a kid flipping through the books for hours. And I just remember these symbols, and and I just saw that and I started reading into metaphysics and started reading into different ancient cultures, and that's when I started aligning characters with. This is from Brazil. That one is in Brazil. We'll talk on that later. But just symbolism had a lot to do with what I was doing, and interdimensional beings, other species of beings, all kinds of things I was touching upon, but mostly ancient knowledge that's been forgotten or glossed over. I was
Right,
trying to,
and everything means something. And what's interesting to me,
right.
again, particularly with this painting, is that you know, typography is still prevalent both in graffiti and in traditional form. They all seem to mean, numerology means something to you in the work.
Well, numbers have power. Numbers are, I mean, the Kabbalistic system, I mean, everything is numbers. I mean, we know you break down letters and languages, it's really numbers. I mean, so, I mean, they're all equations. And that's how I see my work. When I break it down, when I delineate it down to its very last compound, I just like see numbers, and I see figures, and I see waves. I see forms as sacred geometry in a kind of like a cosmic dance, like when things formulate, you know, from Ein Sof art, from the unknown to the known, from the non-matter to the matter to the transformative, you know, and then taking transmutation, you know, like it's an alchemical process, you know, putrefaction, the whole nine, and out comes another byproduct, another creation. So in essence, the work is always changing in my mind, how I see it. There's always transmutation. There's no death. There's
Right.
just all total transformation.
And it seems like you're mapping this out, this alchemy, you know, and it's interesting because again, you're still, in these early works, you're still anchored to hip hop.
Oh,
It's
right.
you and Ramelzi distinctively were pushing these ideas unlike anyone else during this period. And and again, you know, you mentioned Basquiat in terms of him writing on his paintings and this random free thought paintings. I mean, writings rather. Here we clearly see this. It's a very elaborate blueprint, if I could say that, or chart of something. And one thing that stands out to me is that bullet. And the words, the truth, and the American flag upside down, and a governing body on the far left corner. So your politics are also embedded into the work as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, this was from a campaign Levi's did, appealing to the Latinos in the Mission district of San Francisco. They plastered this BS all over our neighborhoods, Denver, Dodge. Like they know anything about the culture. They know anything about, you know, they tried to American Pie us with this campaign. And I was just like, yo, man, no, they've glossed over a rich history here, posting this up in the Mission district, and not like, you know, like, as you can see, there's like ancient Maya and Aztec idol giving birth right there. There's a lot of things going on in there. There's the councils. Yeah, this is like I won't even say what it is, but
it's interesting that that this would be a commercial project with such pointed politics, right?
Right, and this is like a blueprint of like you breaking down the dollar bill. It's breaking down like who, like, what's the truth? What is the truth? Is it you trying to appeal to us, or like, are you forgetting like where America, so-called America, this, especially California, is Mexico, dude? It's like, do you know where you are? Do you know your history? It was a touch upon like what's real, what's the truth, and that campaign sure as hell wasn't. So that was my statement. I was a little rude boy about it, but so be it.
And of course, this kind of style, you know, during this period continues. And
Mm-hmm.
and you're what I find really interesting, again, in this particular painting, how the Freemason becomes an important figure in the painting, at the center of the painting.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Freemason is referred to as a traveler, a seeker of truth. One goes on a quest, become a Freemason, or my son, is one who seeks the light, seeks the truth. I don't know. I'm not pro or anti. I'm just an observer of it. I'm observing what it means to be a seeker of truth.
Right. And so, but as you're seeking out this truth in your work, there's, there are a couple things that I found really interesting where, things were, you were at one point very clear and upfront about the symbolism and the imagery, but then the line takes over, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's something really important. And I made a reference to that earlier about the Black Book drawings and the line work, right? The control of the lines and the proliferation of the line on the full page. And this comes back to me here, in these early paintings with the line work, with the contour line drawings.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about arriving at this place.
Well, when you see lines like this, it creates the illusion of vibration or frequency. This was a very vibratory painting I did in Brazil. It's called Os Brasileiros. Upon my first visit with Yuka, rest in peace, who's a great friend of mine. Os Gêmeos is the first time I met them. Speto, Nunca, Binho, Vice, Nina, all of them. But this was in time of Carnival in Rio. And this was like my remembering people walking and dancing kind of in a strut. And it just gives this kind of a vibrational feel. I can still hear the batucada in this painting. That's what I wanted to capture. It's just like the cohesiveness, the beauty of just like oneness in Carnival, and that's what that was about. But the line work is that. It's just a continuous flow that kind of like brings things together, brings vibration, brings humanity together. We all kind of conjoin in these interweaving lines that we're all connected in every aspect in every way we're connected. There is no dissimulation between us. There is no outside of us. We are all connected.
I appreciate you saying this. I appreciate you saying this as we look at this painting, which we actually have on display at the museum, and about interconnectivity, where you're paying homage to Shy 147, Bear 167, and Dondi. And of course the characters pouring out a little liquor. And again, this is kind of a shift, but it also speaks to that human interconnectivity in our story.
Yeah. This is this is just in paying homage, the tradition that keeps going. And this was like the young apprentice, and the M stands for master. It's 13th letter representing transformation. The 2s and 5s were their lines pretty much. And there's the traditional IRT angelic winged, I don't know if what was an R, it was like an R10 back then. I don't know what it was, but yeah, that's what that was, paying homage to the greats,
DOZE, tell me about this period, because you're in terms of as an artist taking such a leap of faith, and to be individual, to move away from your old story, as we had been already surveying from, creating these characters and hip hop and all of this, and now you're kind of just taking leaps and bounds, which for many of us at first was kind of confusing, because again, it was above our intellect, right? And
I wouldn't say that.
For many of us, for people who didn't know, right? Some of us obviously knew certain things because our connection to Zulu Nation or the 5% Nation, and as in that manner. But was there early on? Was there any resistance or to this type of work from your peers?
I didn't really give a fuck, honestly. I mean, I was doing my shit on the low anyway, and I was just in the lab for a lot of years. I mean, a lot of people are like, yo, what the fuck is that, man? That's whatever. I mean, I was pretty much a hermit in those years of developing this style. So not a lot of people knew what I was doing anyway. And on the front, I was just doing computer graphics and designs like that for record labels and in San Francisco, and the like Deeper Concentration, the Future Primitive stuff. And, you know, that's when I was releasing a lot of that stuff. But yeah, it was on the under pretty much, man.
I
And,
mean,
you know,
do you feel you would have arrived at something close to this if you stayed in New York?
yeah, because, you know, I was inevitable. I mean, it was just an expansive experience for me. I'm always seeking new things. I mean, if it wasn't this style, it would have been. I was friends with Phil Frost on the East Coast, you know, and there was a whole collective over there in the Alleged Gallery that were doing sick shit too. But I wanted to go, and thanks to Legs and you know, get me up there in the Bay when I ran into FM2O, like Scratch Pickles now, and went to the Kennel Club and all these places. There was a renaissance. Barry McGee was killing it. You know, Reminisce, you know, Margaret, all of them were like, there was a super renaissance happening where people were like experimenting with wheat paste, getting synthetically cubist, getting crazy with shit. Not even cubism, but more synthetic b-boy, like grav spray with like wheat pasting. And it was this multi-medium kind of thing in the streets. And I was all about it. I was like, yo, this is some exploratory shit. I'm all about this. And, you know, cats were still in New York. Not all, but a lot of cats were still hitting highways, and, you know, tradition, respects. But I was like, yo, this is a new experience for me. So I played into it.
And you leaned into it really hard. And one of the things, let me ask you something about these paintings. You were doing these paintings, and were you exhibiting them, or were you just holding on to them, or what was
I was exhibiting them. I was in first I was doing cafes and small little bistros and little galleries in the Soma district of San Francisco. There was tons of them. There's like little galleries, walk-in cafes and stuff. And I started selling a lot of paintings. I was like, okay. And they were small, you know, $50, $100 here and there. But I started showing at 111 Ministry Gallery, and then other galleries. It kind of snowballed. And then I was a part of something in San Francisco, a part of a real movement. Those were great years in San Francisco, from like 92 to like 99. It was great. It was amazing.
Salute. Let me go this way. This next slide, this is a later work. And it's really quite fascinating. It's unlike anything else I've seen of your work, both in tone, but also figuratively. And one of the things that starts appearing that is a recurring icon in your work is the bird face.
Yeah, these are an allegory to the Anunnaki race. The Anunnaki race were supposedly a race that came down to the earth pre-Diluvian, really prehistory, and taught man how to start fires and cut rocks and build buildings and build spaceships and blah blah blah. But anyway, so this whole series was based on like this whole therianthropic move that I've gone into, like combining animals with different kind of letter form, with different kind of biological entities, and they all have their characters of their own. Each one is their own demigod or demiurge, and I was playing on that. But the bird in itself is a symbol of like the Anunnaki, of flight, of the gods.
Another thing that you're well known for in some of these paintings is this just I don't know how else to put it, but this this orgy of cosmic imagery, of symbolism, I found, and we've talked about this for so many years, that looking at a DOZE painting is like reading a novel and a history book.
Well, this is the coronation of the Buddha, Siddhartha. So this is in essence the story in a nutshell, kind of all the trials and tribulations of the Buddha, you know. So yeah, a lot of these paintings, I like to do that. I tend to compartmentalize things into like heaps, and like, because that's the way I see things. I mean, time is not linear, and events happen in different ways and different ways to look at. I like to look at things from all angles, and stories in their narrative at different chapters, and I kind of put them together in a narrative way. This was how I saw the coronation of Siddhartha.
Right. And one of the things too is, and again, I appreciate you talking about this, because your works, you know, in some ways I found were so powerful and loaded with history and intellect, and that most people would kind of overlook that by their beauty, by their skill, even by your own popularity. And again, you know, that I always say, you know, it's so important that we hear your voice around how you think, because your thought process is quite phenomenal in that, you know, you're able to take you know, a multitude of images, and again, you know, create something like we were just saying, a real narrative, a real story, and that everybody's there for a reason. Every character, everybody has a role to play in your paintings. It's a recurring thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like these are their series of these kind of like star people that are kind of landing, ascending, and descending into this kind of field. I didn't really have any real direction here. I was just feeling these space, like Arcturians just coming in, bird people. You know?
So here we have a public installation of your work. How often do you get, you know, take on projects like that? You're not known for doing murals. You do some installations.
Well,
you've done a few.
We did a lot. There was a time when I was a part of the Barnstormers with David Ellis and Maya
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Swoon. I mean, the whole nine. We had a family of 40 cats from Japan, South America, North America, Europe. We had a big clique, and we did a lot of work before things were dubbed street art. Actually, we were doing stuff in the 90s, early 2000s, all over Williamsburg, all over Brooklyn, in the South, and on Barnes, Japan. Yeah, we did a lot of real work. We did. And it was a lot of fun. It was a really cohesive family. It was an amazing experience. And a lot of those artists, Jose Parla, I mean, pretty much all of the artists that were in Barnstormers have careers today. I hate that word, career. Or they're painters, you know, they're successful painters, and they're doing fine, you know. But it was good. It was good to be with a collective where we actually helped each other a lot. We gave each other gigs. When somebody couldn't do a gig, we pass it on. And that was a real sense of community. That's what it should be in the art. That's how it should be. But yeah, we were doing tons of murals, bro, but I just don't have the imagery right now.
Right. Well, we do have some images. Again, here, one of the things, these next few slides, again, you know, one of the things I love about this is, again, the return to the line. But again, it's like a top to bottom wild style, so to speak. But again, the power and the clarity of this continuous line, this kind of, you know, this isn't really mapped. It's amazing. You don't draw these out beforehand, right? You just go off the top of your head.
For the most part, yeah. In this case, I did have a drawing, but in most cases, no. It's just from the top of the dome. This was for the Biennale, and Giorgio Dimitri, he liked this image. He's like, "Yo, this is powerful," and I agreed, and this is the one I picked to do. And I did 2 walls. It was for the Bridges of Graffiti with Lenny Futura was in it, Ski was in it, Motu, Teach, Todd James. I mean, it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. Aaron, Zero T. It was a great show.
So this entry into the art world and into the art market, um, what what's your thought on it? What at this period when you start being collected and celebrated, but more importantly, you have something to say. And do you feel that what it is that you're trying to say artistically is coming across to your audience and that space?
I think so. I get a good response from people who understand it, and for those who don't, they just enjoy it, and that's fine. Not everything has to have rhyme or reason to everyone. I mean, you take what you want from it and dissect it the way you see it. That's fine. I don't have rules or regulations for how people see my work. I just think if they feel it and they see the symbols and they understand the allegory and the symbolism behind it, that's even better. That's great. And we can play from there.
I would agree with you, because as I was composing this and I put these two images together, there was a personalization, right? I identified with it in kind of the line work, this kind of congestion of ideas, a congestion of things and things in the head.
Yeah. I mean, this is and this one right here, Archon's Ball, is just a play on the demiurge, the dark forces, the dark shadow forces. I mean, for the past 3 years, it's been a kind of like a time of discovery for me, self-discovery. I think everyone's going through it now, but I did a lot of shadow work back for the past 3-4 years, and delving into my identity and my persona, my ego, and stuff like that. So it's translating through a lot of these dark paintings. But I mean, with the darkness comes the light, I guess. I don't know.
Well, here comes the light, right?
Yeah.
And let me ask you something. As we look at your work, I mean, for those of us, I don't believe I've seen anything quite like it in the arc of art history. Did you have a reference point for any of this type of work?
I don't know. I mean, like, obviously Cubism is a big part of this. I mean, there's so many different points of inspiration in my painting. I can go from the cubists, the synthetic cubists, constructed realities, to for me, painting is I see paintings more as sculptures than paintings. So for me, like Henry Moore, Barbara Hepworth, and some Noguchi are more people that I'm more akin to what I think of my paintings, because I already see them in 3-dimensional form. It's just I don't have them. Yeah, boom. There you go. Thank you. On cue. It's just, I just haven't gotten there yet. And I'm about to get a studio and start getting into ceramics and stonework and wood and, like Lee Bontecu, Naum Gabo. I mean, all these people were super influenced, and, as far as painters, Siqueiro, Mata, Braque. These are like what inspires me. These are inspirations, for me. And it would have to be in the period of the early 1900s, early 20th century,
And what about contemporary artists that would have an influence on you?
Now?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I like Inka Eisenheim. She's dope. She's really dope. I can feel she's there's a lot, man. There's a lot of artists, actually. I can't even pinpoint one. It's I'd have to get back to you on that one.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about this image here. We're seeing two things here. We're seeing a mural that you painted. I don't know if it's a goddess or an alien, but it's interesting that, again, you revisit that in sculpture form in bronze for a recent show you had in New York at La Roche Gallery, right?
Alush.
Alush rather, Alush Gallery.
Hmm.
When you did the sculpture, were you referencing this particular work?
I was actually. This is Inanna, the goddess, and she could be referenced as to Lilith, uh, Adam's first wife. But she is the pure feminine power. She's very powerful symbol. But I did it at first with Kid Robot. I created this version, the second version, with Kid Robot, and I did it in vinyl, all in black first. And then Mario Mars one made a suggestion because he does a lot of his sculptures in bronze and metals, and he said, "Man, this would look fantastic in bronze." And I'm like, "No," and even like with a patina on it, like just let it get dull, and someone's garden, someone's backyard. It's kind of dangerous. I hope you don't have kids.
Yeah. Is it an
You might get impaled on
right?
it.
Is it an
But
edition? Did you do? Is this going to be a sculpture edition?
it's a one-off, but we're thinking about doing an edition, a smaller edition in bronze.
Is it still available?
It is available.
All right. The collectors out there know that it's available.
Yeah, it's at the Alush Gallery right now. But yeah, and that's where I'd like to head. I'd like to head into more sculpture,
Figurative sculpture, I would imagine.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily. Kind of a mixture of like a synthetic polymorphic kind of like letter slash, I want to go back to the simplicity of the letter and form, like body form. I kind of like a combination of the two.
Yeah. I'm glad you say that because there's a slide in here of a works you did where you really distilled everything and brought it to that idea, but in 2D. But before we get there, I want to show everybody this tremendous mural you did for Powwow. Talk to us about this because this was a really big work. And I remember when when you first did this, I had the impulse to say, oh, this reminds me of Mexico, a Mexican art, like an indigenous art, right? And I think it's quite probably the color tones and some of the forms. But what were you referencing for this work?
Actually, the inspiration from this painting is a painting that's in Puerto Rico, and you know who it is. It's of the Taino ball players.
Ah, okay.
So that was the inspiration. It was the Taino ball players, but this is actually in Hawaii. And of the Hakalea, it's the Hakalea exposition. I had one of my teachers, Maka'ala Yates, is like my kumu, who's like a kahuna to me. And he told me about the stories. I lived on Maui, had a farm on Maui in Hana for about 6 months. And I had a real reverence and respect for the islands. I almost believed that I had a past life there and had a lot of visions there. So it moved me in such a way that I was like, I had to leave really abruptly. And I felt like my business was unfinished there. And I wanted to give so much respect and reverence to the people and to the culture that when I went back and I got a chance to paint with Powwow, I said, let me do this. This is something that's important to me. The Hakalea, it was the reenactment of the journey from Hawaii to Tahiti to Hawaii. That's how the people used to navigate through the stars. And you'll see the Seven Sisters stars right there,
Right.
the Pleiades. But that was the impetus for that painting. It was amazing.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And here's something interesting I found in this particular one. This, of course, you mentioned, Cubo-futurism in your work. This I think you throw everything into this particular painting. And one of the things that really stuck out for me on the far right corner was the Hebrew writing.
Yeah, that's Tetragrammaton. That's the signature of Jehovah. Yeah, but I'm not a Jew, so I can write it. Apparently, if you're a Jew, you can't write it, but I'm not Jewish, so I wrote it.
Right. But what is it about, picking stories and iconography from world culture and kind of digesting it and analyzing it and reinterpreting it? Why is that so important to you?
Say that again. Repeat that again. I didn't quite get it.
Why is world culture and symbols and symbolism and religions and things and mysticism, why is that all so important to you, that you take it and you make it your own, you create these really fantastical paintings?
Because I'm alive, and this is what I'm here to do. I mean, I'm here to express myself as a human being experiencing this three-dimensional, third density place we call planet whatever. You know, we're not the first to be here. We're definitely not going to be the last to be here. But while I'm here, I'm going to like capture it in the best way I know how to, and have, try to capture the experience of being a human in this, especially now. It's intense, and I thought I captured it right before this whole situation happened. This was like a vision I had about the planet reseeding itself or reforming itself. I mean, we've gone through 5 extinction periods. This is the 6th, apparently. So, I mean,
And again, the bird, the ever-present bird, but interestingly, one of them has kind of a funnel as opposed to a beak. I mean, again, there's so much to read.
It's not a funnel. It's a horn. It's like,
a horn.
It's the horn of not Gabriel. Is it Raphael? The angels that, they say in the end times the horns will blow, the final call.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, sound the alarm. He's sounding the alarm for the changes to come.
Love it. I mean, this is the whole thing. I think, for the future, I mean, I think there has to be an anthology of your work. And as we are, surveying it, that time is spent to teach us, right? You're a teacher, right? You're a sage of time and stories. And
Go on.
No, and some of this stuff, like I said, it's over my head, right? I'm admitting that.
Gabriel, by the way, thank you. So go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm admitting, that it fascinates me because a lot of these stories I'm not familiar with, right? And so they're not common knowledge to me, but they are in our story, and that you would find a place for them, right, to bring them back to us, to remind us.
Yeah.
As Osgemio says, you are our teacher.
They're my teachers. Those are my guys, man. I learn every day from them. They're really in touch. I haven't even touched upon what they're touching upon.
Right. But this is what's so wonderful here, that we share this, right? We acknowledge each other and the influences we have had on each other, right? They adore you, and they openly admit it. And so again, those as here he is again, sounding the trumpet. And what I find, again, there's also something I've always I liked about your work, is that somehow you embed sensuality and sexuality into the work.
Tantric power, yes.
It's
not necessarily erotic. It's sensual.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We can see that here. Again, you had mentioned the red painting that you did in Brazil. Here's the sister painting to that.
Mm-hmm. Lado A, Lado B. This would be Lado C, and that's where we come to where I'm at here now. All of this culminates to why I'm here and what I'm doing.
And why Brazil? Why did you leave America?
Well, that's another hour to talk about. But
okay.
In a nutshell, I don't know. I've had a connection with Brazil. I had a real connection when I came the first time. The music, the art, the people, the weather. You know, there are so many elements, the nature. But I mean, I think it was like the people that I met when I first initially came here was like I met Hapa, the band, and Planeta Hemp, Marcelo de Deutsch, all the early hip hop cats that were doing stuff in Brazil at that time were phenomenal, and they've changed the face of music and culture here. What we did in North America, they were just like photocopying everything we did, I mean, to a T. And like the Wild Styles, the Beat Streets, and everything. Jamios told me like their favorite movie was Beat Street, you know? And I'm like, oh my God, that was the worst movie. Maybe better than Breaking, but Wild Style, hands down. Star Wars, yeah, you know, but they were like, no, dude, this is what it changed our life. But what they did is they adapted it to their culture, and they made it even more vibrant, more beautiful, and more mystical. It's mystical. You know, like the Twins, they're super mystical to me. You know, they're and Nunca and all of them, Speto, Binho, Vinci, all of them. You know, and I mean, there's a rich tradition of mysticism in the art in this place. And this place is very deep in mysticism and spirituality.
Where Brazil is earth, you know, America could be seen through these particular paintings. Tell me about this series.
I did these in the early 2000s when we went to war with Iraq, and after post 9/11, when I saw through the bullshit and I saw where this country was going, I said, okay, I'm going to make a little statement, and there it is. We have three factions of the religious, the media, and the oil and the business tycoon. And I think if you look at the paintings, it's kind of self-evident what I'm trying to portray. I don't really want to go into it too much because it's not my place to go political about this.
Fair enough.
But you know, I see what I see. The writings on the wall, and you know, I had to make my exit stage left, and that's all right.
I felt I had to show these because they were so relevant then as they are now. In terms of where we are here in North America. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Again, this was a series you did, the washes, which were quite beautiful. You know, you move away from color, but still have impact on the grayscale. You know, again, reference back to the birds. In the center, you have the all-seeing and all-knowing owl. Which is quite beautiful. Tell me about doing these black and whites, this series that you were on.
This was in response to, there's a place called the Bohemian Club in San Francisco. That's why there's an owl there. And there's actually not birds, but reptiles. They're reptilians and salamanders, the dragons. So we're just touching upon an order. There's different orders around the world, you know. There's the Moons, the Atlanteans, the Brotherhood of Light. There's all kinds of different factions in this world, and I have the tendency to just do a little dip dive into them in and out.
Right. So as you mentioned orders there, you know, I would in a very cliche way say, because there's so many beaks here, there's a pecking order.
Literally.
So to speak.
That's apropos.
So DOZE, one of the things you had mentioned your interest in sculpture and kind of how you would foresee that. I'm a big fan of these works that you did. They're so powerful. Again, you've distilled so much of what you already have done into clear form, but also it reminds me of graph, right?
It is. It is, man. They're letters, bro. It's just taking it to the next stage of letters. And you know what I got to attribute this to, man? I lived in Milan for a little while, and there was cats out there that I'm fucking feeling right now real hard, dude. Like 108, like Belos. There's cats that are like on this tip of like deconstructionalism. They're polymorphic. they're therianthropic. They're like all the words that I used before. They're 3D and 4D, but they're letter forms that have just been taken. They're here. I've taken the letter. I mean, I've taken the line work out, but still, the difference of the color fields creates the line, and the absence of the line through color, I create new line. It's
yeah, and also I have to note that while they are 2D, you know, you're kind of alluding to volumetric, you know, forms and space, which is quite beautiful. You could almost see them as standalone sculpture.
Yeah, that's where they're going, Pa. That's what's up. That's
Beautiful.
what's happening.
So as we start, we're going to end with the slide, this slide, and take some questions from our audience and our friends. You've been really busy, man. You're a beast. You're constantly working in the studio. Are you preparing for a show right now?
No.
You're just painting to paint.
I'm painting to paint. I'm doing some commissions, and I'm building my art, baby. I'm growing my food, and this silverback is chilling the fuck out for a little while. That's it.
You never cease to amaze me, my brother. And so, folks.
Oh, Goldie's in the house, my man.
Yes, Goldie's in the house.
Tess is in the house. Right on. Cool.
So,
cool.
I want to thank you on behalf of the Museum of Graffiti for taking the time to be with me.
Thank you.
And I also want to invite everyone to ask you a question while we still have some time. I'm sure there are a lot of friends out there that either want to say what's up, or you can give shout outs if you like. But we welcome questions since we laid out a survey of this incredible career that you've had.
Okay, let me give out some shout outs before the questions. I just want to give thanks to my man Goldie in the house. He just opened up a new gallery in Thailand, I believe. It's beautiful. He's got Tats Crew. He's got Crash. You go check it out. So
he'll have DOZE in the house. You'll see.
Yeah, eventually we'll get there. I want to give thanks to my brother Legs and Swift, who if it wasn't meeting you guys, I wouldn't be here. I want to give thanks to Scene TC5, my partner. Wayne, of course, COD crew, TC5 crew, all fam, TMT crew, TNT crew, everybody. And, you know, that's it, man. I mean, just like whoever else is here, I love you guys. You know, thank you. Brisk, what's up?
I also want to nudge you to give Yesenia a shout out because she's been supporting you with the B-Boys. I want to remind people that you just dropped a phenomenal series of drawings that sold out like right away.
Well, apparently, I guess I'm going to have to do it again because it went really quick, and I'm open to it. I'll do another version. I'll do another series later on this year, you know, and I'll do more. So it won't sell out so quick. I'll, you know, I want everybody to have my work. That, you know, and that I believe that people should be able to afford my work too. So the drawings are for that purpose. You know, it's for, you know, the young collector, for the family who just wants to have a piece of the work. I'm always about that. Pablo, yeah.
All Natural has a question. Who are some of your favorite spiritual teachers?
Wow. Damn, that's a tough one. I mean, I like the teachings of Buddha. I like the teachings of Zoroaster. I like Taoism. I love to Lao Tse. Mystical Gnostic teachings of Christ. Mohammedan teachings. Man, there's so many. I can go down the line. I read a lot of Gnostic teachings right now. A lot of Christian Gnostic teachings right now. That's my main focus right now. But I mean, there's cats like Muji and Sadhguru are cool to listen to. I listen to a lot of things. A lot of people. Yeah.
I appreciate that you are sharing that with all of us, because if there ever was a moment to detach from, you know, certain creature comforts and find spiritual enlightenment, this is the time for that. Uh, Alice Mizrachi asked, can you recommend a book?
I'm reading Gnostic Teachings right now, and I will DM her with you more information about that. There's several books that are really cool to read. The Book of Thomas. There's a few books that are really, really awesome. There's some Kabbalistic books that I was reading that she might be interested in. But I'll DM you, Alice.
Interestingly enough, somebody's asking, would you be interested in working on a comic book? And we were just discussing this privately, that you have something in the works soon.
Yeah. I'm actually going to work on a comic book with an artist named Pt.2 in Australia, and she's quite the artist. She's a phenomenal being, and yeah, I would like to collaborate with her. And then I just want, on that tip, I'd like to give a shout out to John Doe as well, the only Boricua artist out there kicking ass, Dark Horse. You know what I'm saying? Represent.
Nice. KMS Crew asks, what do you think of hand styles? Is it important in our culture?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Hand styles, that's the flow, man. That's the funk. Keep that shit alive, please. I love seeing the hand styles that are coming out now. It's really dope. And you know I like the Pisha style in Brazil. I know Gemios. All right, I like it though. I like a lot of styles that are here in South America. Like the flows are illmatic. They're crazy. And in Europe too. Yeah, I just keep the flow, man. Yeah, absolutely. Because you know that I know the tag. You know what came from the tag was the bubble, was the extension of that, and then the piece. You know, so keep that shit
well,
going.
You know what I always tell people. You know, just from a simple tag, somebody can find some very important things about themselves in life. You know, you find identity, you find adventure, you find purpose, you find creativity, right? You find history. And this is self-evident and again, in the survey we've done of you, because it all started with a simple signature. By the way, how did you get your name DOZE?
Well, yeah, I used to fall asleep in class. I used to doze off. It's really simple like that. I used to daydreaming all the time, was thinking about things that, you know, just visualizing things. My mom said it was hard to, like, you know, get me out of these trances. I would go into these trances. I'd draw and I'd work and I'd read comics and I'd be absorbed in it and like, you know, almost in a trance, like a doze off, you know. And so that's what they started calling me, Dozy. Everybody's like, Doze, wake up. Yeah.
I wonder if do you find again, since you have disconnect, there's a bit of a disconnect between you and what you knew, right? Of culture here, of hip hop culture, of American culture, and looking at it from that vantage point that you have now, as you look at what the current state of culture is, of, let's say, quote unquote urban culture. You know, where do you see it? You know, do you feel that there's been progress? Has there been digression? What do you think?
I think there's always progression. Whether it progresses into a direction that I personally like, that's another story. Is it progressing into a negative? Yeah, there's a lot of negative, but I'm also seeing a lot of, like, as far as like culturally speaking, like on wordsmithing, like emceeing or graffiti, or what are you talking about?
Like hip hop. Let's just say
music.
Yeah.
I'll say, as far as music's concerned, I think cats like Black Thought and like those cats, those are the cats that are like really keeping it solid, and they're the torch bearers. The ones who keep the boom bap alive, and they keep the wordsmithing alive. That, you know what, the next generation is going to skim over. I think might skim over the mumble mouth stuff, and you know, it has a place. God bless. Trap has a place in all of it. It all has a place. It has genres. We have genres of genres, and mid microcosmic little areas of music and dance and art, and that's fine. but the essence of hip hop has to be maintained and protected, man. And I think cats like Black Thought, who can, you know, just eloquently just take you on journeys, that needs to come back. Storytelling needs to come back. Real stories.
You know, you've been exalted into such a high, to be a high authority. Somebody saying get rid of Bolsonaro and you for president. Could you imagine? Could you imagine those running your country? Holy shit.
My nose is running. Ew, dude. Don't put me there. No. We're not trying to go there.
Let me ask
No
you
politics.
something.
No
Let
politics.
me ask you something. Enlighten me, please, or us. You know, you are a committed artist, a studio artist. What have you learned during this Corona era, this period where you're devoid of the marketplace, right? Of art, right? That you are in your zone. That, and of course, I kind of understand where you are, but now that you're in this place about your relationship between art making and the market, where are you in that? Where's your head in that? Am I not asking the right question? But I'm just curious.
I don't think I understand the question, because right now I don't think anybody can answer anything about any market, about anything financially or anything. I mean, everything is collapsing around us. I mean, everything is becoming insulated. Everyone's kind of like, kind of in their microcosmic, kind of a cocoon. We're like kind of in a cocoon state. We're kind of like standing around or sitting around and watching the world around us. But I think it's going to be very apparent very soon what's going on around us. And I think we're all going to rise to the occasion when it comes to it.
Yeah. I mean, it seems to me that, you know, because we talk regularly, that there's a kind of pressure that has been lifted, that you found your place, you found your lane, you know, in terms of just working for yourself, your private collectors, taking care of your health, taking care of your land, that, you know, that this illusion, again, part of your work too, right, was demystifying those things that kind of have either oppressed us or kept us from the truth. And, you know, one of the things that is a challenge for artists, right, that our focus sometimes is so much on making it in a market, right, and bringing our goods to market, and we skip over certain things that are really important to us, to our survival.
I think the most important thing for an artist to survive right now is to establish its foundation, living foundation first. Get your living shit straight. Get your connection with the planet. Get your connection with nature straight. You don't have to live in a big city and have this exorbitant, like, huge space to, like, you see my little office right here? I mean, dude, like, I'm in the middle of the country. As long as I have a modem, you know, I can dial out, I have internet and a phone, I can do my business. It's about being sustainable. It's not about living in a big city and spending exorbitant amounts of money, spending money on organic food that you can grow yourself. It's not about living in a big high rise or a condo or renting out a spot in Brooklyn that's like $4,000 a month when you can build a fucking shack for like $10,000, a metal shack, put some heaters in it, blowers, and you're good. You know, it's just a matter of like quality of life decisions. I think it's about doing that and connecting with people, linking with people that are like-minded who are doing the same. Like my boy Skins, yeah, food is free, baby. You're right. You know, I mean, we got French dwellers. We're a network around the world. That's why we say worldwide. Yo, because we connect and we help each other. We help each other through this. Like, yo, I'm growing this. It's not working. What should I add? Add a little more phosphorus. Add a little more. You know, we do little things like that, but we create a community. Yo, thanks. I was about to go on a rant, and I'm glad it cut off what it did, B. That's perfect timing, man. Yo,
well,
thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to afford everybody a proper goodbye with you. And also, again, from our team here, to thank you again for supporting us here at the Museum of Graffiti.
Absolutely.
And, an odd question, why are you drinking out of such a small glass?
It's juice. I'm trying to keep the blood sugar in increments. I get low blood sugar. Anyway, yeah. But yo, it's been a pleasure, man. It's been dope. I really enjoyed this. We should do it again for sure.
Yeah. I hope, I'm going to leave you with this, because I think there are many of us out there who may feel the same way. By doing this, this talk, it helps artists kind of collect their story, right? And survey it. And when we spoke earlier, you said, man, I have a tremendous book here. And I really hope that you get to that someday, because this is just scratching the surface, let's just say. So thank you for the abundance of work that you sent over, and all the things you told us this evening.
Oh man, it's my pleasure, man. I love talking to you. Well, we chat all the time.
Yeah.
So this is home. We're
okay.
home. Yeah. But I thank my audience for putting up with it.
Yeah. Ken Swift, what's up, brother? It's been a minute. I saw Bill Blast joining us earlier.
Bill Blast in the house. Hell yeah. Man. God bless. God bless.
So,
give thanks.
CYA and Calisenia, I see you.
Yesenia, I see you, girl.
So again, thank you for sharing this phenomenal story. It continues, and you and I will catch up off screen.
Let's do it, baby. Ain't nothing to it. I'll talk to y'all. Thank y'all. Peace.
Talk to you later.
Peace and blessings. One love, man.